So, theft on a farm, it's one of the worst things, honestly, that I believe can happen to anyone who is running a business. It doesn't matter whether it's a farm or anything like that, because you put in so much time and so much effort. A lot of years of hard work go into setting up a business. For example, I started my farm how many years ago? 2019, it's now 2025, so that's 6 years, of working hard. A lot of time goes into it. And for someone to come and just, embezzle it, to just come and take away all your years of hard work in just a few actions is actually one of those really, really terrible things. I mean, there's a lot of other reasons as to why a farm can fail. Yeah? It could fail because maybe of poor management, maybe because the market has become bad, very many other reasons. But it's really not one of those reasons why your farm should be failing, because it's very unfair, very, very unfair. And I've personally experienced it. I've seen a lot of farmers who have gone through it in the Farm Up Academy, and physically when I go to visit farmers. It's a very common problem that farmers face, and I personally have faced it. I haven't been immune to it. Yeah. And so how do I deal with it? Yeah. How do I deal with it? I have a few examples where I've dealt with it. I'll just share two of them. One of them was at the very beginning when I just started farming, probably in my very first year farming. I had this worker who I didn't trust. He wasn't working really well, so I let go of him. And then I got in someone who had been a worker for someone else on their farm. So he comes onto the farm. I actually really appreciate that guy, because that guy gave me a trick on how to make local drinkers. I think I've made a video about these drinkers before on the channel, where you just cut jerry cans and things like that. He actually gave me a very good trick of how to actually implement that. But he also taught me a few things that I told myself I would never ever do again. So this guy, what happened is that I fired him actually for a reason that was completely not related to theft. Yeah. So at the time he was having a lot of, I would say, problems with my grandmother, who was the person who was supervising the farm at that time, because I was personally not present. I was still working full-time as a doctor. So I honestly thought he was a good worker. He seemed like he knew what he was doing, and he was doing stuff really well. But every day my grandmother kept complaining that this guy is stressing me, he's going to kill me. She was an old lady anyway, yeah? It's like, this guy is going to kill me, this guy is going to kill me. And then she just reached a time where I told myself, okay, I'm going to let go of this guy, because grandmother says, shh, the guy is going to kill her. Maybe from hypertension or whatsoever, stress. I don't want to be the cause for the death of my grandmother. So I decided to just let go of the guy. So I let go of the guy, and at that time, my farm was producing about, I think, 15 trays of eggs every day from the farm. So I let go of the guy. So after I let go of the guy, I hire someone else. At that time, it was a cousin of mine. He just came in as an emergency. And the very next day, we get 22 trays. That's 7. I'm like, that's really strange. And then the next day was 21. Then the next day was 22. I was like, whoa, this guy has actually been stealing eggs. But I didn't have any proof of that. Then what happened is that later on, after this guy had left, we checked under my grandmother's chair. I think my grandmother was trying to clean up or something like that. Those sofa sets. And then under the chair, this guy had actually hidden like 2 trays of eggs in there. And then he had also dug holes inside the chicken house where he would hide the eggs. And then after that, we got a customer coming. Some random guy shows up at the farm and he's like, hey, you guys are like not supplying my eggs. What's up? I'm like, what do you mean we're not supplying your eggs? He's like, well, I already made a payment to your guy here, but he hasn't supplied my eggs. And of course, I'd already fired the guy. So what used to happen is that this guy had also gotten his own customers. So we had our customers and he also had his customers. What a very terrible way, yeah? So just like that, I was losing money. And the farm wasn't profitable. Another experience is one I had on the breeder farm. So on the breeder farm, of course, we label some of the eggs because we want to know the dates on which they have been hatched to make sure that we know we don't keep eggs for very long. So while storing them, we label some of them. So this random day, you go to a nearby trading center, and then we find the person who sells eggs in the trading center actually has labeled eggs. You're like, what? Like the eggs are labeled just like eggs from the farm. So we decide to, just probably pay more attention. And then the next thing we do is that the next time that we actually do check it out on a random day, we find, after taking the security to pay more attention, we find this guy, he has been stealing eggs and he's trying to like shunt through, because the farm is really big, 400 acres, through some tiny opening somewhere. And when we stop him, he actually has eggs in a bag. Yeah, so it has happened to me, it has happened to a lot of people. I mean, if someone is in the diaspora, it has probably happened to you. You know, you step away, and then after you step away from the farm, by the time you come back, people have been stealing the eggs. I mean, people have, forget about stealing eggs alone, people can steal your chickens. You count your chickens in the chicken house, and the chickens, the number is not the correct number. You count you know, equipment, things like that. So how do you actually deal with things like this? But a quick one, I've just been moving around. You guys can see our tank stand right there, and we want to plant bananas. Yeah, so we're going to be planting bananas again. So you guys can see our banana plantation at the bottom right there, but now we want to expand it this side. Yeah, because I mean, this is land where I've been planting like maize and things like that, but all those things are a waste of time and money. So I'm just going to plant bananas this other side. Yeah, I want to extend them this side, so that's why I've dug these holes. These are about 60 holes for which you're going to slowly, you know, plant bananas inside here. Yeah, slowly we're going to plant bananas. That's what I'd come to actually check out. Yeah, so that I just enjoy my bananas. I really do love bananas. And yeah, we just want to expand the farm this side because I want to create a path where this plantation is on the bottom side. I want to build some things there as I'm expanding the farm. So I'd rather have the banana plantation closer to the top of the farm. So I'll tell you the first and key thing when it does come to like preventing theft on the farm is actually making sure that you do due diligence during hiring. Nothing can ever guarantee that the people you do have on the farm are actually good people. No, nothing can ever guarantee that. But you can try your best to make sure that you hire the best people that you do have. Yeah, so hiring, especially the manager on the farm, because they play the biggest role. Yeah, they control everything. Yeah, that is like the biggest step or the biggest thing you can actually implement on the farm to ensure that, you know, you can minimize the chances of theft on the farm. Yeah, so make sure that when you're hiring, if you get someone who is honest, you know, as honest as possible, that's a very important criteria. You see, personally, when I'm hiring people on the farm, there are different types of skills that I look out for. There are skills which can only be trained over a long time, and there are skills that can be trained over a short time. Yeah, for example, if I'm looking for someone to hire, and then I meet two people, and one of the people has the skills like honesty, hard work, integrity, commitment, but they don't have the skills of, for example, identifying illnesses on the farm for the chickens, or, you know, calculating the number of eggs or the percentage production and things like that, understanding how much feed or when to give the feed. Those are two different types of skills. I personally would rather hire someone who has the first set of skills and I train them on the second set of skills, because the second set of skills is quite easy to train. Yeah? If someone doesn't know how to identify a disease or diseases, you can just train them. Maybe in a month or two, they'll have grasped everything. If they don't know how to calculate or even how to use Excel, you can teach them how to use Excel. If they don't know how to, you know, give the feed, how to distribute the feed, you can train them. In a week or two, they can get that. Yeah, and with time, they'll get better. But if someone is not honest, you're not going to train them on being honest. If someone is not hardworking, you're not going to train them on being hardworking. You can, but it will probably take you 2 years to train them. You don't just train honesty. Yeah, it will take you like, honesty is something that's trained from someone's childhood, from the time that they are really young, over like period of 10 years. Yeah, with their parents and then the kinds of people they work with through school. So those are not skills that you're going to train very easily. So I personally hire for the very first set of skills, and, you know, we deal with the second skills. And the first skills are the more complicated skills. They are the harder skills to get. And it's very important that when you're hiring at the beginning, you actually hire for such skills, because it ensures that it becomes much easier for you to run and manage the farm later on. So first of all, you know, pay due diligence during the hiring process to make sure that you hire the right kind of people. Now, the second thing is minimize the number of temptations that you do have around on the farm. Yeah, you need to minimize the temptations. What does that mean? Not everyone deals with the eggs. For example, for me, the eggs are only taken off the farm by one person. Yeah, and you know, that's the guy who is in charge of them, who is in charge of like riding or driving the tuk-tuk that takes all the eggs off the farm. Yeah, and other people don't have that opportunity. Another way of minimizing the opportunities or the temptation is by ensuring that the farm is fenced. So if the farm is fenced, people can only go through one entrance to take stuff out. Now, of course, they can try and throw it over the fences, but again, just having a fence around minimizes that risk. There's only one entrance, only one exit. It's lit, it's open, there's light there. Everything can be seen. Yeah, so it just minimizes the chances or the likelihood that someone is going to try and take stuff through that entrance or through the door. Yeah, another thing is place cameras around the farm. Now again, placing cameras around, it will help, especially people knowing that they are being seen. But if people really want to steal, they'll steal, yeah? But it would be good for you to, you know, just place cameras around the farm. It also places you in a better position where you can see what's happening, and, you know, it just minimizes the chances of people stealing from the farm. Another thing that will save you from theft is you understanding exactly what happens on the farm, yeah? So if you understand the mathematics involved, for example, in raising the chicks, in managing the birds, the calculations in terms of how many eggs are expected to be produced. If you get significantly less than that, it's very easy for you to suspect the eggs are being stolen, yeah? If, for example, you expect the birds to be eating this amount of feed and they're eating less or they're eating more, then it's very easy for you to suspect that, you know, theft or something like that is happening on the farm. So one way of you minimizing theft on the farm is for you actually understanding in great detail how the farm is run, how the farm has been running, or how the farm is actually supposed to run, yeah? If you understand those details, it decreases the fact that, you know, people will try to manipulate you and steal from the farm. And then two more things. Number one is them understanding the consequences of theft, because for me, the guys always understand the consequences of theft. They understand that if you're caught stealing, you're actually going to end up in a really bad position. What does that mean? You'll end up in prison, you'll end up being taken by police and in prison. And it has happened before, yeah? It has happened before. The guy who I caught on the breeder farm stealing, we actually took him to prison and he spent like 6 months in there for stealing eggs, yeah? He had to deal with the consequences, yeah? So they need to know that right from the start. For me, stealing and lying are like the worst crimes that can be committed on the farm. And you need to understand that, you know, if you perform any of them, you're actually in trouble and you pay for your sins, yeah? It's not something that I compromise with the people on the farm. They totally understand that. And then finally, being in good terms with your neighbors, yeah? So if you're in good terms with your neighbors, you know, the neighbors around, they'll be on the lookout for you, yeah? If they suspect that theft is happening around or things are going through the wrong exits and things like that, they will be able to see and they will let you know, and that will, you know, just protect you from the theft that's happening, yeah? So again, theft is a really bad thing, and I believe it shouldn't be happening on a farm. And if it's happening, I mean, you're going to lose out on a lot of money, a lot of money. So just carry out these activities, and I mean, you'll increase your likelihood of succeeding if there's no theft on the farm. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, smash the notification bell. I've shared very greatly about actually other ways of managing the farm and preventing theft and ensuring that your farm thrives and excels in the Farm Up Academy. I'll leave the link to the Farm Up Academy in the description. You can check it out. Catch you very soon with another video. Lots of love. Bye-bye.